Live, presumably. Yes. Um, I am waiting for my partner in crime, Mr. Jack Childress, reader and Uber fan, to join me, but he's a little bit late, lagging, showing up fastly late. So we'll start without him. Um, those of you who don't know me, I first published in 2018. First book was You're Never Ready for a Zombie Apocalypse. Ah, here's Jack. Here he comes. And there we are.
I made it. Had a little something finish up over in the old Written Undead over there. Knocked out a podcast with the one and only Doug K. Awesome guy, MMA fighter, sexy man. So what is up with you, Jeffy? I see we got a little takeover going here today. Now,
Yes, we
did you
do.
did you storm the gates or did you just send a threatening letter? How did we wind up here?
I just snuck in.
Hmm. I like that even better. Although I'm kind of having a hard time seeing you sneaking.
Well, a little Trojan horse action.
There you go.
There you go.
I like that. So, real quick, I need to
Mm-hmm.
pull the headphones off because I need to grab a couple things.
Mm-hmm. That's Jack. Um, okay, so those of you watching today live, there are two ways you can participate. Actually, three. You can join us live on camera, or you can join us live voice only, or you can throw comments at us from the group, or you can just lurk in the shadows. But if you lurk in the shadows, you're not going to win any swag. So
Hmm.
there you have it.
And examples of swag, just so everybody kind of has an idea of how real this man is. And I still just love that freaking cover. That's just hilarious. He's just like, I want on the water. Love it. And of course,
The one that started it all.
where it all begins. And y'all
That is
see
correct.
these are zombie killing size, by the way. So if you're lacking in your bug out bag for weaponry, these might very well save your life one day.
or
So
you
I'm
can, or you can bitch slap you somebody you don't like.
damn Skippy. But hidden within these pages is just wonderful shit. So Jeffy,
Yes.
let everybody know why you started writing these.
Well, I've said it before. I'll say it again for these guys.
Yep, new
Um,
audience.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of zombie fiction, obviously. I'm also a fan of military themed zombie fiction, which is its own subgenre.
Hmm.
And having been in the military myself, it's kind of a natural thing.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Angel's here, Angel Ramon. Hey, buddy,
That's my guy.
that's the man. Um, so if I spent 14 years in the Coast Guard. And if the Coast Guard was mentioned at all, it was either as the butt of a joke or as an afterthought. And he's going to be breezing in and out, Angel.
That's how my guy flows. Oh, and by the way, he's probably still wearing chainmail right now.
No, it doesn't. Well, his icon doesn't look like it. Anyway, so I know the people in the Coast Guard. I spent 14 years of my life serving with them.
Hmm.
I know the kind of people they are. I know how insane they are. And I know that in the event, unlikely though it may be, of an actual zombie apocalypse, they're the kind of people I want watching my back. So there was no Coast Guard centered military zombie fiction. So I said, screw it, I'll write it. And I just started, and now I'm working on the ninth book in the series.
So now you start off in Hawaii.
Yep.
So I got to thinking about that. It's like, okay, Hawaii isn't very big. There's not a lot of people there. It would seem like you should be able to crush a zombie uprising pretty fast there. How did you make that
Well,
work?
the population of Oahu which is where Honolulu
Mm-hmm.
is about 1 million people, and it gets 2 million visitors a month.
Oh,
It ain't that big of an island.
that
It's
does create
also
for a dangerous situation, and you don't have nowhere to run.
That's right. It's also one of the most heavily armed pieces of real estate in the world. I mean, there is Hickam Air Force Base. There's Kaneohe Marine Base. There is the substation. There's Navwar Station. There's the Navy base at, oh yeah, Pearl Harbor. There are Army bases. There are Air Force substation bases. There are shipyards. This is one heavily armed piece of real estate.
Well, damn.
So, yeah.
Now, is that a result because of Pearl Harbor? Because we knew we had Pearl Harbor, and then the attack happened. Did the ramp? Was there like a ramp up? They were like, no, we're
Well,
protecting this.
at that stage of the pre-war years, working up to World War II, at least America's involvement in it, they moved the Pacific Fleet from San Diego out to Pearl Harbor. So they were in the process of turning it into a heavily armed island. Shortly after, I mean, there was plenty of military presence on Ford Island and in Pearl Harbor and in a few other places around Oahu, but the real buildup came after the attack.
Okay, that would make sense. I mean, because to me it seems like Hawaii would be a big asset. So if all of a sudden it's threatened by zombies, now it's like, okay, wait a minute. There's
Yeah.
no airplanes coming in. This isn't an invasion. They're just kind of popping up
Mm-hmm.
here. So how did you come up with the concept for how it started?
Well, I wanted to go with a virus-based zombie
Mm-hmm.
rather than the undead rising from the dead. I wanted them to be virus-based lunatics with a taste for human flesh.
Okay.
Right. So, what was the original question?
Well, it started off with
Yes,
the island being the island being
right.
so small, and then when you threw the whole 2 million
Well,
tourist
it's
part in, I was like, okay, I didn't think about that. So
yeah.
there's going to be a lot more people there than just the
Well,
citizens.
also, you get 2 million people in Kansas and 2 million people on an island the size of Oahu, and there's a big difference. Kansas they can spread out. Oahu they can't. Plus, you're talking about this is paradise.
Mm-hmm.
If paradise can fall, what hope does anybody have?
This is true. So, how did you deal with the logistics of that? 'Cause like you said, you're on a small island. Everybody's kind of cramped together in a situation like this because as the zombie hordes get together, they're taking up
Mhm.
so much space. How did everyone just not die?
Most of them did. The vast majority of the people either turned zombie or died. I mean, we're talking like 99%.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm good. You already know. Spoiler alert. Once you
Mm.
start his series, shit's gonna hit the fan, and when it does, there's gonna be a lot of splatter.
Well, I mean, almost all zombie fiction is like that. It's the zombies vastly outnumbered the uninfected or live people.
So, when you try to find new inspiration, because I'm sure that
Mhm.
after so many books, you just got to be like, okay, now what? What do
Mhm.
I do now? How do you keep the juices flowing?
Well, it helps to have no life. So it gives
I
me
can
plenty
relate
of
to
free to
that.
think about it. Um, but it's just a matter of I write for myself. I write to entertain myself.
I
I
hear that a
write
lot.
I write things that I want to read. So I just amuse myself. I think what would be cool, what would be funny, what would be different than you're normally used to seeing.
Now, would you say that that would be like your number one piece of advice to give to a new writer? Is like, dude, just write what you would like. Don't worry about trying to make $1 million off this. Just write what would entertain you when you're
Yeah,
bored.
yeah. Forget about getting rich doing this. Some people do it. The vast majority of writers don't. So get it out of your mind. If it happens, awesome. If it doesn't, and you haven't been hoping for it, then so what?
Just have fun.
Just have fun.
And
And,
that's exactly what we're going to do here today with
that's it.
you.
That's right.
So, I understand you might have contests today, maybe a couple little giveaways today.
Well, right now I have um, a meme thing up inside the group, inside the Reanimated Writers group. Um, and basically, it's just I'm looking for participation. People want to participate. They want to join us here um, on the show. That's awesome. If they want to just comment, that's awesome. Whatever, but participate. Because the thing is, and you and I have talked about this, and we'll be talking about it more in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But um, the fans, the readers, are at least as important as the writers. Without you, we're just,
You wrote a book that you can read.
yeah, we're stroking our own egos and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
With you, you give us the reason to do this. You guys keep us going. So it seems to me the best way to um, make use of this social media platform is to engage you guys,
Mm-hmm.
to get you guys involved so that number one, it inspires us to keep going, but also you can give us input, direct input, what you like, what you don't like, what you're tired of seeing, what you'd like to see more of, things of that nature. Because I mean,
And
we can't, we can't. Yeah, we've got good imaginations. If we didn't, we wouldn't be doing this. The writers,
it's true.
but we can't think of everything. And you guys have at least as many cool ideas as we do. I'm sure of it. So,
Well, I tell you what, as a fan, one of my biggest turnoffs is having an author that puts together a Facebook page or Instagram or
mhm,
whatever, and they'll throw something out there, some kind of question or whatever, and the fans will start responding, and
mhm,
then you could scroll through all the responses, and you'll never see the author, not one time. It's like they don't want to interact with you, and
yeah,
that just turns me off right away. I'm like, come on, dude, you know,
yeah. And then there's the opposite side of that coin. The the authors out there, and there are some who um, view it simply as a sales pitch. They're like, if you, the fan, give the writer an inch, he'll take a mile in shameless self promotion. And there has to be some of that. I mean, the way this independent publishing thing works is word of mouth.
exactly. So you need
And
the fans out there
those
speaking.
mouths belong to you guys. Yes,
Mhm.
they belong to the fans. Um,
You just
so
don't need to be pushy. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
I mean, okay, they know you're trying to sell. They know that I'm trying to sell my books.
Hmm.
I'm not going to hit them over the head with it. There are authors out there who
That would
do,
hurt. Just
especially
saying.
all nine of them.
Oh
That'd be a load.
Lord, no. Hell, just walking over here, I had to take a little bit of a break. This is murder level at this point, and I love it. I freaking love it. Now, see, this is the thing as a fan. I prefer to listen to most things audible style or an
Mm-hmm.
audiobook of some sort, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
through another app or whatever. Just because one, I'm big on narrators. Man, if you've got a good narrator, holy crap. It's like that's the voice I will always hear in my head when I
Mhm.
think of a character. But having a physical copy in my hands, even though I'm listening to the audio, a lot of times, hell, I'll crack a book open, have the audio playing with the book in hand. But even when all I've got, say, is just the audio, when I finally get my hands on that damn book, even though I've listened to it through
Mhm.
Audible, through Authors Direct, through different groups,
Right.
I'll still go back in and I'll flip to pages because, well, a lot of times it's like, how the hell do you spell that person's name? And so I'll go in and look to see how the hell you spelt someone's name because
Mhm.
I'll be like, I don't know how that works. Good example, Mark Tufo with Vivian Deneau. I had no idea for the longest how her name was spelled. I was like, what the hell? And then I finally got the book and I went,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Makes a
Yeah.
little bit of sense.
Well, interestingly enough, and I didn't know this when I started out, but you can read the book either in paperback form or ebook or whatever,
Hmm.
and listen to the audiobook and have two different experiences of the story. Because what happens is um, the audio version is the narrator's interpretation of what I wrote.
Hmm.
He's not inside my head. I'm not inside his. So there's going to be some differences. He makes choices that I had. Sometimes they're as good. Sometimes they're better than the ones that I made. I mean, we were talking about this last week.
Hmm.
Um, in getting ready to make sure that I have everything tied up on this last book, I've been listening to all the audio books.
Hmm.
And I've spent the last 4+ years working on these things. I've read these books over and over and over and over again, and you would think I'd be sick to death of it. But listening to my narrator, Matthew Crow,
What's up, Matthew?
to his interpretations of my work, it's it still makes me laugh out loud
Now, how
because
much?
it's his timing.
I was gonna say, how much input do you have in how he narrates your books? Do you just kind of let him just run with it, or do you be like, hey, 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 wait a minute, that person wouldn't talk that way. They'd be more like this.
Well, I gave him a sort of primer at the very beginning that explained because there's a lot of nautical jargon, there's a lot of military jargon,
Hmm.
and I explained to him what everything is so that he understands it. I also explained to him what it's like being in the military. Because you can't. I mean, that's one of those things you really can't know unless you've done it. And
True.
it's nothing against the people who haven't been in the military, but it's its own world. It's not like being a civilian. They're completely different sides of the coin. Um, so I explained it to him and explained. Well, for example, um, there are essentially three different elements to the average speech pattern of
Hmm.
somebody who's been in the military. It's jargon, sarcasm, and insult. Everybody I've known who's been in the military uses those three elements. It's the way we always give each other shit.
So where do you fall in those three?
All three of them.
That sounds
I
about right.
don't I don't use jargon as much as I used to because I left the military in '99. So it's been 23 years
Hmm.
since I was in the military. So I don't use jargon quite as much as I used to. I do in the books because that's expected,
Hmm.
but not in my normal speech.
Okay, now just for the people at home that may have no idea what military jargon sounds like, do you have anything you can just pull real quick and throw out there to them? Maybe a couple lines.
Well, a lot of it's profane.
Now that's fine.
Fubar, for example. fucked up
Fucked up
beyond
beyond
all
all
repair,
recognition.
beyond all recognition, which it varies from one person to another.
Mm-hmm.
There is Bohica, bend over, here it comes again.
Mm. I
That's
might have to write
that's
that one down.
that's definitely a military acronym. Um, there is let me see what else. Clusterfuck. That's straight out of the military. But there's also uh, the rank structure and the kind of military uh, co- uh, courtesy and the behavior, the way you're supposed to behave. That kind of falls under jargon. And you've got all of the um, nautical jargon, such as deck, overhead, bow, stern, port, starboard. There's all that stuff that's involved.
Yeah, as opposed to me, I'd be like, "Hey, go up to the front of the boat. No, no, you go to the back of the boat. Now you go to this side of the boat. You go to that side of the boat."
And
That's
I could
civilian
have done
talk.
that. I could have done that, and it would have, I'm sure,
It wouldn't have
made
been as
it.
good. It wouldn't have
Well,
been as good.
it would have been easier to understand for the average reader,
Yeah, but
but
it's more fun the other way.
for the people who um, have been in the military and read this stuff, I know from experience if I'm reading something that I have experience with and
Mm-hmm.
they're getting the details wrong, it drives me nuts. It drives me
Which
absolutely nuts.
I could totally get that because I mean I'm a forklift operator, been doing it for over 20 years now. And when we get new people on, they start talking about, yeah, I've been doing it for like 6 months. I totally get it, and yada. And they start talking about the machine itself, and I'm like, dude, that's your mast. No, no, that's your back guard. No, that would be your point of balance. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I get that. Granted, I'm not getting shot at while I'm doing all that, but still,
Well, I never got shot at either.
you're a lucky man because you're a big target.
Well, I originally joined in 1979, which was 4 years after the fall of Saigon. At that point in our history, the last thing anybody wanted anything to do with was a war. Nobody wanted to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against the other services, but their job in peacetime is essentially to practice training, to
Which
keep
ain't bad.
ready. No, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's necessary to keep ready in the event that we have to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that if I was going to join the military, I wanted to actually serve a purpose. I wanted to do a job, not practice for something that nobody wanted.
Right.
And the Coast Guard, it doesn't, peacetime, wartime, doesn't matter. They always have a job to do. It's
Surfer goes down, floating in bad waters.
it's
We coming to get you.
search and rescue, marine safety, fisheries, drug interdiction, illegal immigration, uh, just on and on and on and on. And then after 9/11, all the Homeland Security stuff that got tacked on.
And no one ever really thinks about that. That they just automatically assume, oh, it was the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. It's like, no, not just off the coast of our country. That's not who was out there. It was you guys that were out there. It was y'all that were ready for a freaking battleship to roll up, and y'all got to figure out what to do about
Well,
it.
Gulf War One. First U.S. ships over in the Gulf were the Coast Guard,
No
and
shit.
it's because of their law enforcement authority. The Navy, if they board a ship because they were a wartime, that their wartime service,
Mm-hmm.
if they board a ship, it's an act of war. Coast Guard boards a ship, it's law enforcement.
I did not know that. I have
That
just learned something right here today. Hope everybody else that didn't know that has learned something here today. So y'all are almost like an acting military police force
Um,
that also
well,
rescues people.
I was effectively a federal cop. Anyone over the rank of E4 is considered a federal law enforcement officer. Now,
Wow.
for the most part, it means nothing because you're too busy doing stuff that don't doesn't really involve law enforcement.
Hmm.
But technically, I could arrest somebody. I could have arrested somebody.
Because I mean, it's there. I can.
It's there.
The power is there. Thankfully, you didn't have to. That's never a bad thing. But you guys, trying to word this the right way. When you started writing your book, you put things together using these guys in a way that literally you were trying to save lives because, well,
Mm-hmm.
some didn't make it, obviously. So, how much of what you went through in real life doing what you did played into how you wrote your series?
Well, there's an old saying within the Coast Guard: you got to go out, you don't have to come back. Now
Oh,
that's not official for obvious reasons,
well, yeah,
but that's the general consensus: is you got to go out, you don't have to come back.
it's the unwritten rule.
It's the unwritten rule. Um, and I knew personally 9 guys who didn't come back.
Damn.
Um, it's doing the job. It's the nature of the beast. It's a dangerous business, so it happens. Um, so it's that kind of attitude. Um, it's like the physical manifestation of gallows humor. When you're up to your neck in shit, you get totally sarcastic. That's the attitude. It's like, oh, fuck it. Let's just
Yeah, I'm done.
we're,
Rah!
we're screwed. Let's just do it anyway. And that's the kind of attitude that allows people to go out into a hurricane.
And so that's where
To
all the training comes in, where it just kind of gets beat into your head that even though you're in that moment
yeah.
of just, I don't give a shit, screw it, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, but the training is there and you just muscle memory, you know what to
Well,
do, right?
it's that, and it's this is common all across the military. In a battle, now never having been in a battle, I can't speak from experience, but I've read enough accounts of battle to know that most of the people fighting and dying in war aren't doing it for the flag. They're not doing it for their king or their president. They're not doing it for mom's apple pie. They're not. A person isn't going to throw themselves onto a grenade for a king.
Mm-mm.
They throw themselves onto a grenade for their buddies, to protect their buddies. That's what the less lethal, perhaps, version that the Coast Guard goes through, because we generally don't get shot at, is you still, when you get in those situations where it's like, fuck it, we're screwed. All you can do is not let down your buddy, not let down your crew. Everybody has that attitude. We're going to do this. We're going to watch each other's back, and somehow we're going to live through it and get really shit faced falling down drunk when we're done.
That has a real Roman soldier feel kind of to it. You know, they go out for the glory of Rome and they defeat the enemy with their brothers by their side. Then they go back and they have mead and wine and celebrate. So, throughout your training, did y'all ever have any thing where they taught you anything that had to do with like Roman history, like how the battleships moved, how they did anything like that?
No, they talked about Coast Guard history, which
Okay.
incidentally, Coast Guard was the first maritime service in the United States. It was formed in 1790 as the Revenue Cutter Marine. Its job was combating piracy. That's how it started way back when. And
And
that was
y'all still are now.
still are now. Yeah. That's a lot more missions on top of that one though.
So now, again, I know we're going to touch on a lot of stuff we've already talked about, but
That's
again,
cool.
new audience, new
New
audience.
audience.
What was the most fun mission you ever got sent on? Like where you were
Um,
literally like you walked away from it like, damn, we just did that. That's pretty badass.
um, well, the most memorable happened. I can even give you the date.
Mm,
January 21st, 1983.
I was 8, by the way.
Yeah, January 21st, 1983. I was on a ship in Alaska. It was a 180-foot buoy tender. I think it was 40 years old at the time. And we were um, told to go play war games with the Navy in Pearl Harbor.
Damn, hell of a place to go play war games.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were all behind that. We all wanted to go to Hawaii. It was a great
I
idea.
bet being in Alaska, hell yeah. Get me down to where the
Well,
warm's at.
unfortunately, the powers that be thought it would be a good idea for us to do it at the end of January. The Gulf of Alaska and the North Pacific Ocean in January is a nightmare. We hit a storm that lasted 4 solid days. We were measuring the seas at 50 to 70 feet high. The wind speed indicator was pegged at 100 knots.
Damn.
It's too far, we were too far north to call it a hurricane, but that's essentially what it was.
Holy crap. And now what's the overall size of the ship you're on going through that?
180 feet,
180 feet. So let's put that in car terms. How many Cadillacs do you strain together to get the length of this thing?
probably a dozen.
Wow, that's pretty good sized ship, but in a hurricane situation, that's still like, ugh.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, so we got out there, and the bosun on his rounds discovered that we were leaking in our forward hold.
That's not good.
We were taking on water. So the captain wisely um, told everybody to make preparations to abandon ship just in case, which was kind of pointless because if we'd have actually had to abandon ship,
Yep.
none of us would have survived.
Yeah, no, if the big boat
There's
ain't taking it, the little boats are
no,
toast.
we'd well died, no question about it. So I was in the chart room getting our version of the abandoned ship kit ready.
Hmm.
It's to allow us to navigate when we're out there on a boat in the middle of nowhere. And this electronics technician chief, his name was A. Alpers, we called him Trip, was in there, he didn't really have anything to do for the evolution. So he was in the chart room with me, and he kept going, I hope this fucker sinks. I hope this fucker sinks.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, Trip, shut the fuck up. Um,
He was
but
tripping.
well, he was just it's a gallows humor.
Hmm.
That's what it was. Because there was, this is the way I described that storm. Think of the meanest, most frightening, most make your balls want to go anywhere but there roller coaster you can imagine.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah, so it's
Got that in
whoop.
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, make
Yeah.
that roller coaster last 4 days.
Oh, I'd been
Give it,
yakking everywhere.
give it the ability to kill you at any moment, and then wrap your head around the idea that the nearest point of land is 1,100 miles away.
Oh crap.
And the conditions were such that to keep from taking on more water and battering the hull any more than it had already been battered, was to go just fast enough to be able to steer the boat.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, we actually went 9 miles backwards one day
Damn.
just to keep ourselves. Because this was even riding these waves. It was like the ship would go up. The wave would go up, up, and up, and up, and up, and up, and you would swear that wave was going to break over the bow and just go. The water would go down the stack and put the engines out. We're screwed. We're dead in the water. So you just knew it was going to happen. And then it was like at the last second, the ship itself reached arms out and pulled itself to the top of the wave. And it just kind of teetered there for a bit. And then it went boom and headed for the bottom of the wave. And you'd
Oh.
swear to God that it was just going to keep going. You weren't going to stop when you got to the bottom. And somehow you did. And you start climbing the next one. 4 days of that shit.
Oh. How you are not clinically insane, locked in a padded room with a straitjacket on after something like that? Because I'm
Well,
right now. I'm thinking about that movie, The Perfect Storm. You know, the spoiler alert at the end is the boat's trying to climb the damn wave, and then suddenly it's tumble, 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 tumble right to the bottom.
yeah, well,
What was the fear level like? Or were y'all just literally so locked in that you're just like, fuck it, rock out to the death?
well, at first it was trying to keep from puking. Um,
That would be
I
a lot of me.
I've been seasick exactly once, and it was the first day of that storm, and it was because I had taken the seasick pills,
So
which
they
is
actually
which
hurt
is
you?
well, it's counterintuitive, but the seasick pill Dramamine,
Mm-hmm.
that's the seasick pill.
I take it if I had to be a passenger for a long time in a car.
Dramamine is a depressant. It'll put you to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they generally don't like it if you fall asleep on watch. So they
No,
give you an amphetamine, a little amphetamine that goes with it. You're doing uppers and downers at the same time.
that's a fun buzz.
Yeah, so I puked my dinner that first night, um, and then immediately threw the seasick pills over the side after them.
I could see
But
that.
the first day or so after that, it was I was hanging on, but that was about it. Half the crew couldn't even get out of bed. That
Damn.
includes the captain.
What?
Captain couldn't even get out of bed. Well, I don't. The conditions were just so insane. You
So now
didn't
what?
sleep.
What did they have you doing during these 4 days? I mean, did you have jobs? Like,
Standing watch. Always up
wow,
on the bridge. And
holy crap!
you're the first thing is there's nothing you can do about it. Mother Nature is either gonna kill you or she's not.
So now, but you're still counting on your pilot over here, guiding the ship, trying to keep this thing from
Well,
getting
yeah,
turned the wrong way.
that's part of what I did. Is we would steer the ship and hopefully not die.
I was going to say,
Um,
well, the stress level's got to be insane in something like
well,
that.
the thing is, you're left with a choice. You can dwell on the idea there's nothing you can do about it and you could die at any moment, which isn't going to do you or anybody else any good.
Because you're
Or
looking
you,
out for your brothers.
or you can start to enjoy it in the same way you enjoy,
Like
a
extreme
roller coaster,
sports, yeah, it's like,
extreme
wow.
sports.
Here we go. Rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah. So you start to enjoy it.
So
So
that
you
goes to
can.
show, man, that goes to show that in so many different books that have military based characters that specifically are written by former military people or current military people, like Richard Rose, who is current military, 13 months away from retirement, by the way, for that guy. I'm proud of him. Good job. And for you and him, thank you for your service, as always. But it goes to show that the stuff that gets written into these books involving military people and the annex that they perform, the things they say, the way they act, the way they react, the way they do what they do, that's some real shit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's human beings have always done this. Have always I mean, we're a warlike species. We always have been a warlike species.
Now look how I'm
We're
dressed.
we're
Oh shit.
explorers. Um, we go where no one's been before. We kind of like danger,
Hmm.
kind of,
Kind of.
kind of.
Until it becomes too dangerous, then yeah, we don't want a part of it.
Then it's like,
Just
yeah.
a quick example, I always wanted to see a tornado up close, just to see one.
Mm-hmm.
Then one actually hit my apartment head on, and I physically saw the gray slapping my window. Kind of realized then maybe I don't want to see
Mm-hmm.
one up close.
Yeah, I had this kid tell me one time that he wanted to ride out a hurricane just to see what it was like. And I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't.
Dude, Ron White said it best. It's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing.
Hmm.
You could be standing there like, woo, look at me, and all of a sudden a stop sign decapitates you. So yeah,
Yeah,
you got to keep perspective on things.
yeah. Now, I spent a total of 8.5 years at sea. Um, and one thing I learned is that Mother Nature can be the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. It's stunning beauty that just it leaves you in awe. It actually does. But then in an instant, she could turn around and become the meanest bitch in recorded history.
That's because you pissed off Neptune.
Something, something, and that's when you're out there in Mother Nature, not just looking at it from the shoreline, but out there in it. It's you got to kind of make peace with the possibility that you might die. You just make peace with it
It's like
and
you
keep
said, that's a
going.
job you took.
That's the job. Yeah, it's it's a crazy job, but like I said, I never got shot at. I came there probably half a dozen times. I probably should have died, but
Well, hey,
didn't.
that was one example right there. It's like, holy crap.
That was the most memorable. You don't forget
So,
shit like that.
so now, y'all have made it your 4 days. You've gotten through the storm.
Mhm.
Are you still heading to Hawaii at this
Oh
point?
yeah, oh yeah.
Y'all were going. It wasn't getting stopped. There, y'all were headed
Well,
there.
no,
So,
you're in the military. They send you to Hawaii. You go to Hawaii.
how was the
Even you
journey
gotta.
after the? How was the journey after the storm?
Well, it was still sloppy. Um, just the thing about water is, you know, when the rain stops or when the winds die down, it's still ugly out there because it's water. Water doesn't just stop moving on a dime.
No.
So days after the storm, it's still it's not 70 feet anymore, but you're still getting bounced around.
One thing I think of as you're telling us this is I remember a friend of mine, Gilbert Laguna. He was a Vietnam vet, and
Mm-hmm.
at one point he was on a smaller military transport ship. So it was
Mm-hmm.
him and a bunch of his guys. They were in Vietnam and they were heading in. They got caught in a storm, and there were like 6 or 8 of their ships all lined out together, moving in to hit the
Mm-hmm.
beach and on board. and they hit this storm, and they said at times their ship would go up and they would be able to look down on the ship beside them. And then all of a sudden it would switch, and now they're looking up at the ship they were just looking down on, and it just kept doing this. And I'm thinking, what kind of a toll does that have on the human body? I mean, just
Oh
getting
man,
the pressure.
my knees are hosed. My knees are hosed because all four of the ships I was on had round bottoms.
Hmm.
You look at like a cruiser or a destroyer or something like that. Their bottom is shaped like this.
Hmm.
Buoy tenders and icebreakers are shaped like this. So when
Like the
they
bottom of a
roll,
watermelon.
yeah, when they roll, they roll.
Ooh.
So the only way to remain upright while this is going on is to kind of go back and forth on your knees. Just kind of flex your knees so you're staying more or less upright.
Mm.
Well, the knees ain't meant to go sideways.
No.
8.5 years of that shit, and then another 10 years working construction and bouncing around on rebar. My knees are fucked.
So now, what do you do in your free time? I'm sure everybody that's a big Jeffy fan wants to know what the hell do you do when you're not writing, you're not doing research, you're not keeping up with another author, you're just out and about having fun. What do you do?
um, well, that's kind of what I do. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm retired, um, and I'm now doing what I've always wanted to do, which is write full time.
And that's Rich's goal, and he's headed right to.
Yeah,
He's got 13
and
months, and he'll be right there with you.
it's I do what I want. I am my own boss. I start when I want. I end when I want. Um, but what happens is I end up most of what I do ends up in one way or another informing on the writing. For example, I love movies
Hmm.
and I love binge watching good TV shows on street because when you're streaming it because there's no commercials. I
Uh,
hate, hate commercials. I
Same.
can't watch commercial TV. I just can't.
Hell, I'm an NFL fan. I'm all about red zone.
Yep. Yeah.
Just give me the game. Give me the games. I don't care if
Exactly.
it's my game. Go to another game.
Yeah.
I don't care about what Doritos' new flavor is. I really don't.
Exactly. So, um, Doritos.
Hey, what? They're a good chip. Come on.
Right. Well, the good movies, the good TV shows are all about good storytelling. This is how a story is told. Now, granted, it's a visual medium versus words, um, but it still happens the same way. You know, A A follows B follows C. You can't suddenly suspend reality and do something that makes no sense whatsoever. You can't, you can try to write non-linear stories the way Quentin Tarantino did with um, Pulp Fiction.
Damn good example.
Damn good example. Most people can't do that. Most people can't bounce around like that. They try
Hmm.
and fail, but at least they're trying.
So now let me ask you this, going along that same vein.
Mm-hmm.
As you're writing your stories out and you know you're coming to the end of a book, like I'm ending her here to set
Mm-hmm.
up for the next book. What is your feeling on giving closure at the end of said book with a tiny little cliffhanger versus just going full on cliffhanger?
It depends on whatever serves the story best. Sometimes a cliffhanger is a good idea.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes a smaller cliffhanger is a good idea. to something that automatically brings you into the next book.
So it's all situational. Now, I've run into this a few times where a book will end on a full blown absolute cliffhanger. Like you're
Mhm.
literally like, okay, where's the next chapter? Like, oh
Right.
shit, this is really the end of it. Crap. But then they start the next book with some random characters off in some other place doing some other thing. Have you done that?
Um,
And so, instead of picking up where we just left off, because that's kind of, as a fan, again, I'm like, where were we?
well, yeah, you got to sell that shit. You got to pay that shit off. You
Yeah,
absolutely have
because
to
we
pay that
want
shit
it.
off. The biggest one I can think of happened between the third and the fourth books, which is Pirates and Zombies of Infamy. And the first chapter in Zombies of Infamy starts someplace else, but it's important. It's an important place to start, and it's only a couple of pages, and it goes right back to where the other one ended. So within the first 5, 6 pages, you're right back where the story ends.
Okay, because it's in that, and that's like a hang up with me. Granted, if after reading, shit, I got to get my damn thing set right. My mom's dog, who I look out for when she's not here, this is old Zeus. He's 17 years old. Look at this old freaking guy.
That's an old
Um,
dog.
very old dog. He
Mm-hmm.
just he just won't die. I think he's got some kind of demon in him because he pees on all my stuff. Always has. But I'm gonna deliver him back real quick. But have we gotten any comments yet? Anybody said yet?
Just Angel so far.
Just Angel. Well, damn it, I'm gonna have to put some words out, get some stuff out there. Momentary, but why don't you tell everybody about where they can find you while I do that?
All right. All righty then. Um, you can find all of my books on Amazon, of course. You can find me here in Reanimated Writers. I have a couple of personal groups. One is called Coffee and Rabbit Holes, which is basically my love of coffee memes. And the other is Jeff Thompson's Twisted Tales, which incidentally, um, the first 4 books have excerpts in that group in Jeff Thompson's Twisted Tales. So you can find it there. You can find it on Amazon. You can find me at Twitter, which is at JS Thompson 2021. And I recently went over 100 followers, which kind of cracks me up. But you can find me there, and you can just find me wandering around aimlessly. Um, so let's see how many responses. So far, Deborah Woods is the only one who's put a meme out there, and it's pretty damn funny. So put those memes out there. You can win um, signed copies of the books. You can win uh, audio codes. I have audio versions of the first 7 books, so you can get audio codes. Play along, send a message our way, talk to us, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like.
Hey, look, I will only bite so hard. I promise. I won't break skin, but you'll know I was there. I'm just saying. And for any authors that are out there that happen to be watching this right now, there's a wall behind me for you indies if anybody wants to get up there, because there's
this
quite a few up
this
there, including this gentleman right here who is shit. The StreamYard is different than the freaking Zoom, but right above me, right there,
yep.
would be Zombies Don't Surf, right above my head, featured prominently, hanging out beside the virus. And hell, what the hell is beside that? Oh, that's Alan Gamboa, right beside you, right there. There's history there. Well, I want to real quickly give a little bit of history into why the two of us are actually hanging out here today. The
Okay.
first time I ever got to do a show of any sort was because I won a contest and I got to pick an author to come on with for 1 hour with one other fan. and do a show. Well, at the time, I had won a contest, which was Jamie Hernandez. Right there, I won book 2, which she personalized and sent to me, and so I got to go on for 1 hour. Well, Jeffy here was still hanging out and still hung out, and so me, Jamie, and Clark Morris
Mhm.
all got to kick it for a little while and hang out. And one thing I learned from all that is, first off, you guys are regular people, just like us. I was so freaking hung up on that when I first started doing this. Like, I couldn't start a show without my damn hands doing this because I was like, I'm talking to a celebrity. I'm losing my mind. But it's like, no, man. Regular folks, just like the rest of us, just out here writing badass stuff. Like, I'll keep doing it until somebody stops me. So me and this guy, we got history. And first off, Jeff, I want to thank you for being the dude that you are. I mean, because this, like I said, this goes months and months and months ago, and you were just so kind to us as guests, and you were so caring about Jamie and her spot, and trying to hype
Mhm.
and do all that. And that's really what this is all about: is hyping each other up. Pushing like.
Mhm.
I'll push your book. You push my. Everybody's pushing everybody's books.
Well,
We're
yeah,
trying to get out there.
that's the ulterior motive that the writers have.
Hmm.
Is we're pushing our books, and yeah, this is shameless self promotion. That's fine. I can cop to that.
Hey, but it's
But
fun.
well, yeah, it's fun. But when you get a situation like we had when you and Clark came on that show,
Hmm.
it's unheard of. It's always us, the writers, flapping our gums at each other, telling each other how great we are. And we might get some comments from the readers, but that's about it. To have a reader come on one of these shows with us and just give us absolute proof of why we're doing this. I mean, these without the readers, we're just engaging in total self-absorption. That's it. Without you guys, we don't exist.
And I feel like there's so much to gain by having us in an environment like this. Like I
And
said, I look forward to having more fans jump in and
so
not just
that's
be us.
yeah, that's my ultimate goal is to have the fans participate in this stuff. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I'll repeat it again. You can join us right now on camera if you'd like to.
In fact,
You
hang
can
on, Dustin.
join us. You can join us voice only
I'm bringing up the phone.
and be incognito and just have your voice out there if you want to. That's fine. Or you can post comments, uh, and I will see them and I can put them up just like I did with Angel. Um, Participate. I mean, this is. You guys want to tell us what you like? You want to tell us what you don't like? You want to tell us the tropes you're sick of? Let us know this stuff.
Yep, because it's going to only improve the writing. Because
Exactly.
I look at it like doing my job. I kind of go through the same routine every day, do the same thing the same way every day because it's what I know and it's what's
Hmm.
been effective. So I'm not going to look for a better way of doing something because, well, what I've been doing, if it ain't
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it. But somebody could come along and be like, hey, dude, maybe instead of doing this, you do that. And it's like, oh, shit, I didn't think
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Crap. And so I make an adjustment. Suddenly I'm going, damn, it's so much more smart. What the hell? So it all works symbiotically between
Does.
author and
Absolutely
fan.
does.
And see, that's why I guess, again, this wall is nothing but indie. And there's a reason for that. First off, they're fantastic. Second off, these people will actually listen. They will actually be like, all right, dude, what'd you think about so and so? Be like, well, I don't know if he really kind of played his part the way he should. I might do something a little bit different. And even if that doesn't change,
Hmm.
the opportunity to put the opinion out there exists.
Hmm.
I could send a million texts to Stephen King. Love you, Stephen. No issue. But I could send a million texts to him. I ain't getting responded on any of them.
No.
He's not saying anything to me.
No.
So he's going to write what he's going to write, and that's fine. He writes great books and all that. But man, having a little bit of a fan's touch is kind of the old equivalent about having a woman's touch. A little bit of something subtle that the writer didn't think of, and throw that in there, and all of a sudden, a scene that was good might become great.
Well, it's kind of like the phenomenon that is comic book conventions now. I mean, Comic Con used to be this small fringe thing down in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
It was where the geeks hung out. And there were all these jokes about, you know, these are where the people who never get laid go. You know, um, now look at them.
Yeah, see some of the cosplay
They're
that's
huge.
going on in those places.
That's because this is now the age of the geek.
I mean,
It's this
honestly, I've
nerds.
never.
Nerds right now rule, and we're all nerds about something.
Yep. And
Some
hell,
of
and for the jocks, being a freak for say college football and the NFL, you're a nerd for that.
you're a nerd. Yeah,
Sorry,
you're a
it is.
nerd
I
for
mean,
NASCAR.
you're wearing the jerseys, you're wearing the
Mhm.
hats, you're doing the thing. No different.
No difference. No difference. And now, let me tell you this. Now we got the hot chicks.
Yes, I've never
We
wanted to
got the
sleep
hot
with Boba
chicks.
Fett more in my life than some of the freaking pictures I've seen. Oh, I would ravage that Mandalorian.
I think
I'm
that's a
just saying.
little bit too much information there, Jack, but
I'm known for that. It happens. Now, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Granted, they wouldn't give me the time of day. Probably put a blaster shot about right here. But, hey, it'd be worth it in the end. That'd be my
Well,
last memory. Yeah.
think about some of the most iconic photos of good-looking women out there. You've got Raquel Welch, 1 million years BC.
I'm already going with Carrie right off the rip.
Oh, you've got Carrie. You've got Carrie Fisher
Mm-hmm.
in the whatever it was she was wearing, that metal
Yeah, the slave
bikini,
suit, the whole slave suit.
slave suit. You've
Hell,
got
I'm even mentioning Carrie. Like
yeah,
Stephen King's Carrie, covered in
yeah,
blood. I'm like, my
yeah.
splatterpunk side is thinking she would be fun to wallow around with.
Well, you've got Sigourney Weaver as Ripley
Yes.
in that skimpy pair of panties. Iconic.
Killing a freaking giant alien.
How badass is that? You've got Kate Beckinsale in all the Underworld movies.
Yep.
That leather outfit. Ugh. You got
Oh, what was her name in Keira Knightley, the
Keira
Pirates of the
Knightley.
Caribbean?
Keira Knightley, yeah. You've
So,
got Jessica Biel in the third Blade movie.
uh,
Hell hot.
the Scarlet Witch. Damn it, what's her name? It's sad that I can remember her character from the freaking show, but her damn real name is totally elude me right now.
Mhm.
But these characters, and again, this goes back to something. Characters are so important.
Mm.
If you don't write them right, nobody cares how good the book is. No one cares the storyline, the
Exactly.
plot, the beginning, the middle, the end.
Exactly.
None of it matters if the characters don't hit home. Which, I mean, example, Mark Tufo, Mike Talbot, BT, Tracy, Trip, that group,
Mhm.
Gambo, them. People care about that. And up and coming right now, again, Richard Ryan Rose, I'm going to give him love. Ruin Buford, which is a human and a freaking Sasquatch. They're freaking phenomenal together, plus all their side characters. Then you got like Angel Ramon with Victor and the Last Centurion and what he's doing. Characters matter. You've got to make them right. Otherwise, we're going to lose interest or just straight up start not liking the character. Like, what am
Yeah.
I reading here? What is this? And the next thing you know, it's going to Goodwill and we're done with it.
Yeah. You're not going to read 9 or 10 books about a bunch of people you don't give a rat's ass about.
No,
You're
you're
not.
not. Which is
So
why, again, since we are doing the takeover for the one and only Jeff Thomson, these characters are worthy of your time. They are fantastic. All right, public service announcement over. for now.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
and
you.
hey,
I
hey,
appreciate it.
speaking of which, a little shameless self promotion since we were said something about
Mhm,
that earlier. Um, I'm got to get used to this camera being a little bit different. But y'all see, that is a Viking looking dude with a
mhm,
bear head.
mhm.
I will be appearing in the Wild Eyed Southern Boys Book 2 as the Bear Baron, a very,
Ooh,
very evil some bitch that don't really like them idiots that damn ruin that frickin' Buford. I'll make sure they pay for shutting down my bear sanctuary. Characters matter.
character
It's
matter.
all about getting them right. Because if you don't get them right, it don't matter to me how good your
Mhm,
story is. I need to be able to embrace that character and feel like I want to be that guy. Or for a woman, I want to be
mhm,
that woman.
mhm.
I want to do all that. So how much thought did you put into your characters before you ever put pen to paper or, you know, hand to
Well,
keyboard?
on the zombie books, the zombie all the character well, about 2/3 of the characters are based on people I knew.
Hmm.
Um, and I even used their names. Um, so that was kind of easy. I just took these people I knew and threw them into this impossible situation. Went from
And
there.
let it run from there. Hell yeah.
Went from there. Um, it's the only way to learn how to write is by writing every chance you get and reading everything you can get your hands on. So
So now
it
you're talking about reading other fiction or
other fiction,
biographies or like,
anything, anything,
you know,
words,
workbooks. Like this is
words,
how to write.
words. There's nobody can teach you how to write. Nobody can.
And I think
There
that's a
there are
good public
certain
service announcement.
there are certain tricks of the trade you can be taught,
Hmm.
but nobody can really teach you how to write. You learn how to write by writing and by again reading everything you can get your hands on because that tells you so many things. It tells you how to construct a story. It tells you how a character's story arc should go. It tells you that okay, at a certain point in the story, this needs to happen. To get from point A to point B, you got to do these things. Uh, you constantly pick these things up, particularly reading the bad stuff. Because there's a lot of bad stuff out there, and
Oh yeah.
that's not just independence. There's
Oh,
plenty
there's
of
plenty of.
traditionally published that suck.
Yep.
So I learn a lot from bad writing because it tells me what not to do.
So as you went through the early stages of your process, what were some of the biggest mistakes you made before you finally fixed them? Obviously, but
Too
when you
much
went back and reread and went, ah, shit, what was that?
too much detail. The thing is, in order to make these characters live and breathe, the writer needs to know a lot about them.
Hmm.
The reader doesn't necessarily need to know as much. So the trick is figuring out what they need to know versus what you need to know.
Okay, so you give them
So,
like small bites, peas and carrots.
well, yeah, I mean, it's
I mean, as you build the character, as time rolls, you give them a little bit
yeah,
up front.
a
This
little
is the
bit, a little bit of
basics.
his, yeah,
Now here's something you didn't know. Ooh,
yeah,
they
yeah,
maybe
and you don't,
they don't like dogs. Whoa, and then it just kind of transitions on out.
yeah, but then there's stuff like they don't like dogs. Nobody cares that they don't
Hmm.
like dogs, but it informs who they are. So it's important that the writer knows that about the character. It isn't necessarily important for the reader to know that.
So that's something like you said with you don't want to give too much too soon. You don't overspeak it
Exactly.
early on. So you had to go back, trim it. Let's okay, get rid of that. We'll save that for later. This
Hmm.
I'll put in here instead of giving it all in one big block because then after that, like I said, what do? You already
Yeah.
told all that. So again, this is why I love getting to hang out with you guys because as a person that was just a reader
Hmm.
slash audiobook listener, I've just always assumed it was like you sit down, you write the book, you make the book, you send it to the editor, they fix your typos and your
Hmm.
misspellings, and hey, there's your book. And I have learned over the past several months since I've gotten the opportunity to do all this that it's way more complicated than that. Like there's steps to everything.
Hmm.
Like you really have to sit and stop and think for a minute and even step away at times and be like, well, okay, wait, I got to get away from that for a minute. Let the brain get
Hmm.
recalibrated, then come back in and hit it again to finish this work of art. And to me, that's what books are. They're art. I mean, because
Yeah,
you're
there's an art to it. There's an art to it. I wouldn't,
well, I mean, not all books are art. Trust me. Like you said
you
earlier,
know,
some books are crap, but there is bad art
well,
out there. There's plenty
there's
of
bad
paintings that
art.
are
There's, and it's completely subjective. What I hate, you might love. It's just, it takes all kinds. Now, granted, you can hedge your bets. I mean, there's certain things that odds are most people are going to hate this. Odds are most people are going to love this. Which do you think I'm going to spend my time on?
yes,
Yeah.
what they want. You want to
Hmm.
give the people what they want. It was in a song. You got
Well,
to
yeah. I mean, yeah. You, I write for myself, but I do so hoping that what I like is also what a bunch of other people like. So I can only amuse myself, and it's important to do that because if I'm not having fun, how can I expect you to?
right. So now my big thing, as far as like you said, the flow of like going through a series,
Mm-hmm.
people have to die.
Yeah.
We know it. I've learned that along the way. It helps with the story flow. It motivates the main character. It makes a secondary character more prominent because they just lost a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Yada yada yada. How much trouble was it for you when you finally hit a point where you're like, shit, I got to kill somebody?
Um, None whatsoever.
See, I've always said you writers were evil bastards.
Yeah, we're sociopaths. Well, okay. Here is the best description I've heard about the difference between a psychotic and a neurotic. Okay,
Okay.
neurotics build castles in the sky. Psychotics live there. Writers do both,
Oh, damn, that's prophetic.
and people thank us for it.
Yeah, and yes, we do. Holy shit. That is some heavy stuff just dropped on us by the one and only Jeff Thomson right here, right now. Because, yeah, you guys literally create a universe,
Mm-hmm.
create a world, put it together, put people in it,
Mm-hmm.
godlike, do all this, and then you throw it out there, and we go consume it, and all of a sudden we're in that world. Like we
Yes.
become one of those people in that place, even though we're not mentioned in the book.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get attacked, we don't get killed, whatever, but we're there in it.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's why I love literature so much. Because I mean, I can watch a TV show and they're fun and special effects and boom and pow and bing and all that good stuff. Old school Batman. But it's not the same feeling when I like say when I ended the Mandalorian, when I ended the Book of Boba Fett. I'm a Star Wars nerd, FYI. So I got to the end of those, and yes, I was fulfilled, entertainment wise, and I enjoyed it, and it was great, and yeehaw, this is the way, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. I don't. I have a different feeling at the end of a book. Like I get to the end
Yeah.
of the book and I feel something like different inside. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I was part of something that
Mm-hmm.
was just for me. Or when I watch TV, because I didn't get to use my imagination because, well,
Yeah.
it's right there. I'm looking
Yeah.
at it, I'm seeing it. This I get to make up in my own head. And that makes it all that more different. Like I get a different attachment to characters. Not to say I don't have an attachment to Mando
Mm-hmm.
or Luke or Han or whatever, but it's not the same.
No.
It's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
My connection to characters in your books, my connections to Angel, Rich, Mark Tufo, Sean Chesser, Chris Philbrook, freaking J.S. Patrick, yada yada. I can just go on and on. I have a different connection to those characters
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that I'm not looking at them on the screen, which I guess it'd be a lot like how the Written Undead, or not Written Undead, The Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
when it first became a TV series, I was one of the ones that had never seen the comic. I didn't even know it was a
I
thing
hadn't
until they
either.
started advertising it.
I hadn't either.
And so my connection to those characters was completely different than it was for the people that read the graphic
Mm-hmm.
novels.
Right.
For them, they saw these characters way different than I did. So,
Mm-hmm.
like when Carol didn't kill herself, spoiler alert, and became a main character, there were people that freaked out about that. They were
Mm-hmm.
pissed off about that. But for me, I didn't know of that. So I just thought, well, she's Carol. She was abused by her husband and now she's a badass. And I thought that was cool. So that's why I get so caught up in the written characters really do have a different impact than if you just put something on TV or in a movie or anything else. That's why it's so important that those characters matter and you do a great job of it. And there's so many other indies that do such a great job of that to make them like household family members almost. Like I want to hang out with your
Right.
guys. Like I literally want to hang out with those guys.
I did.
Jealous
killed
much?
killed many a brain cell with those guys. Um, but well, there is there is a movie equivalent of it in the horror genre, um, which is take for example the original Alien. Okay,
Okay.
uh, I think one of the reasons that movie was so terrifying, and that literally was the last movie that actually scared me, was the original because I saw it in the theater when it first came out.
Oh, and it was dark.
Oh, it was dark and you'd never seen shit like that before.
Mm-mm.
But the thing was, if you look at it, you really don't see the alien that much.
Mm-mm.
And that makes it that much more frightening.
Well, hell, you see the grabbers in the little head more than you see anything.
Yeah, yeah. And just your imagination fills in the rest. And your imagination is going to be worse than anything that the writer can come up with.
And hell, you have another great example hanging over your other shoulder because I see aliens to one side, the thing
Another thing.
over at the other side. That's another example of the characters.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just get so involved in them and
Mm-hmm.
you don't want them to die, even though you know what you came to see.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I'm reading something and I start realizing I don't want these people to die, even though I know there's going to be certain ones that are going to
Mm-hmm.
die. I know I'm in a good book. I know right then because the characters have drawn me into the universe. The
Mm-hmm.
universe at that point doesn't matter quite as much, oddly enough, because I'm worried about them. I want them to be okay. Angel Ramon, who's one of my buddies, co-host on a separate show. He still gives me crap to this day because I finished one of his first books and his first book of a series, and he kills a bard, musician.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I liked the guy. I thought he should at least stick around for another book or two, and takes him right out. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? But it
You
built
have to. You
the
have to.
story. It built off of that
Mm-hmm.
one singular event. It created
Mm-hmm.
more events and it just made it that much better. Even though I'm still like, but we couldn't have maybe done something differently. Like, really? It
Yeah.
had to be him? But it works, man. And that's what makes you guys, to me, as the goofy fan out here, so happy is that to know that you guys put so much stock into these characters and making them something that we love. Granted, the evil side of you, just so you can rip them away from us at some point and make us go, "What the hell, dude?" And start blowing you up on Facebook and be like,
Yep.
"Why?" It's like, trust me, there's a reason for it. Just
Just
wait.
don't kill dogs.
No,
Never kill the dog.
I'm not even big on killing cats. Although Nick Plumridge, he's done a good job of killing them. Where I'm like, okay with it. He's done that, and that's a hard thing to do because I'm a cat guy. I'm a cat person. I got some cats. Yeah, he's a little idiot running around here some damn where, probably causing trouble. He ain't even 2 years
Yeah,
old yet, so he's probably tearing something up.
probably.
So, what are your future plans, man? What do you got going on coming down the road, man?
Okay, this next book, which is called Full Metal Zombie,
I like it.
is the ninth and final book of this particular chapter of the Guardians of the Apocalypse saga.
And now, if you would, because Richard actually asked me about this before we started our earlier show,
Mhm.
the chapters. What is the purpose of that? What are you going for right there?
Well, I wrote the first four books. The first four books, which are You Never Ready for a Zombie Apocalypse, Zombies in Paradise, Pirates and Zombies, and Zombies of Infamy. And what that does is it takes the reader from the day that the sassafras, which is the buoy tender the main characters are on,
Mm-hmm.
the day the sassafras bugs out of Hawaii because the shit has hit the fan. And Oahu is overrun.
Officially, it's just run.
Yes, well, it would seem kind of counterintuitive for the military to run away
Mm-hmm.
at a time like that when they should stand and fight. But the thing is, in any natural disaster, let's say that you have an earthquake, the first thing the Coast Guard does, and it's the first thing the National Guard does, it's the first thing the Navy, the Air, it's the first thing the military does, and the cops and the firefighters, is to make sure that their assets are good to go.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing they do, because they're not going to do anybody else any good if they're all broken
Well, yeah.
and they can't sustain the mission. So it would be a natural order. That is how it would go down. Is uh, civilization would begin to fall, and the military would pull their assets back to regroup, make sure they know what their assets are, what condition they're in, what condition the crews are in, the teams are in, the units, the platoons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then um, after they've gotten together, after they've regrouped, then they go back in and start taking the fight to the enemy, which in this case is zombies. So the first book,
Man munchers.
well, I because they're not dead in my book, because they're just really insane. Um, I had um, I forget where I was going with that.
It happens. It goes to me all the time.
It's called being 60 years old, but
Mm.
um, yeah. So the first book takes from the ship getting underway. And when the ship gets underway, there are 45 people on that ship. At the end of book one, there are 8 of them left.
See, that right there, people, is why you need to go check this book out. to see how
yeah,
you get there.
that's the spoiler, and I can't really
Yeah, you can't say much
discuss the
else because
book.
you're going to
Well,
start giving
I
things
can't
away.
really discuss the book without spoiling that.
Actually, okay. Actually, as a fan,
There,
I'm going to ask you this then: is there one kill that you can give us? Just one that won't wreck the story, won't throw anything off. Just a good bloody death.
oh yeah, there's plenty. Let me see. I won't give anything away.
Uh huh.
All right,
No spoilers.
one of the guys gets bit, and there's a chapter which has the main character and some of the other principals
Uh huh.
on the fantail, which is the back end of the boat, um, waiting to deal with their shipmate and friend who's been bitten. They know he's going to turn.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one thing they can do. That's kill it. But he hadn't turned yet. So that's what this chapter is about. It's killing a guy who isn't turned because you know he's going to.
But so you spent the entire chapter on one. See, I haven't until your books. I hadn't encountered that, which I found that really fascinating because I would think that at some point somebody else would have had a character they wrote in that they cared about so much they would want to give time to them. You know, really let the thing flow out before you got to
Mm.
the and it was all said and done. So, how did you decide who it was going to be, and what was that like for you? Making that final decision that yeah, it's you, and here's how it's going to go.
Again, it was really nothing.
I, evil bastard, evil bastard.
Well, you got to kind of be, especially to write this stuff. Um, you got to kind of be warped in that way. I mean, you got to like wood chippers and axe murderers, and
It's funny you mentioned the wood chipper earlier today. I caught that.
that's right.
Now, really though, speaking of the wood chipper, I guess I'm gonna call you on that one. That's completely off what we're talking about. But how the hell are you going to lead a group of zombies into a wood chipper without actually having to physically go out there and touch them?
Well, you're not, which is why
Hmm.
there aren't any wood chippers in this
And zombie
saga.
books.
No, but
It would be a cool sight, though.
there are 50 caliber machine guns and 25 millimeter chain guns and homemade napalm and all sorts of
Occasional Molotov cocktail. Yeah.
oh, there's running them over with bulldozers, all sorts
And,
of fun stuff.
and look, I'm still pushing to get a forklift into a zombie book, specifically a
Well,
reach truck.
there is one of the big cargo forklifts that you see at a port. Those big giant things that carry like
Yeah, they pick the containers up,
yeah,
move them in position, set them down.
yeah.
Yeah, I've operated one of them.
There's one of those in
Yeah.
the which book is that? That would be the fifth book. Fifth book and the sixth book. Fifth or sixth book, I forget.
I'm over here looking through the book. Just
Yeah.
like I'm trying to figure out what damn page to turn to. It's like I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, but the
But
first
it's in
four
there.
books, the first four books take you from the moment they bug out until four books later, the the moment they get the one thing they need more than anything else, and that's help in the form of 10 Marines they rescue from a warehouse on Ford Island. That's the first four books, and I ended it there because that was the story.
Yeah.
And I wasn't entirely sure I was going to write any more. Um, I kind of thought I would, but I didn't have any concrete ideas, so I went on and I wrote some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I came up with the title to the first book of the second chapter, which was Zombies Don't Surf. And
Love that one.
it was just such a cool title that I knew I had to write something. And I figured, okay, what's the next step going to be? Well, the next step is going to be training new people. So you have more people to do this impossible job.
Because you've already lost so many
You've already lost so
troops
many
already.
people.
Yeah, I mean, you got to
Yes,
have more people to do it. And you can't
you
just
got to
have a
have more
cook
people.
walking around with a spatula trying to smack a zombie in the forehead. I mean, that's not going
Exactly.
to do any good.
Exactly. Um, so the second chapter of the saga is bringing the first 10 volunteers through boot camp. And boot camp is 9.5 weeks long. So it's split up into 10 parts, 2 parts per book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this ninth book will be the last 2 parts, the last 2 weeks of boot camp.
Okay, so now here's my other thing. In the world you're living in
Mm-hmm.
with this series, you're talking about 10 and a half weeks for boot camp. How were you able to make that work knowing that you've got a constant war going on out here, but you can take 10 and a half weeks just spend on a group of people that you could stick a rifle in their hand and go shoot something?
Well, that's part of the story is the fact that they couldn't. So you've got these brand new recruits who don't know nothing from nothing, and out of necessity, they're throwing these new untrained people into life-threatening situations, and it's the overrunning story for those 5 books is how do you do that? It's weighing the trying to balance out training these people so they have a chance of surviving it versus having to use them because you simply don't have enough people. But the mission has to continue.
Yes, because the zombies ain't gonna stop coming.
Zombies ain't gonna stop coming. People ain't gonna stop needing to be rescued.
Nope. So now, how much research time did you spend on figuring out? Okay, I'm gonna take some just random dude, like say me. I work in a warehouse. I'm used to
Mm-hmm.
climbing up racks and doing stuff. So I've done some dangerous stuff. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
totally avert to it. It's okay. But how do you take someone like me, drag me in, and go, all right, dude, here's what we're going to teach you? How much research did you put into making it realistic that you could take a knucklehead like me, literally this guy with the Yoda shirt, Grogu shirt on, and make me a competent fighter to fight in that universe?
Well, it's in some ways it was really easy because I've been through boot camp. I know what it was like, and the
Mm-hmm.
basic concept behind it is still the same. And basically, what boot camp is a 9 week long mind fuck. Is they take these brand new recruits, they tear away all of their individual crap
Yep. Bring them back up.
and bring them back up as a member of a team. All the while teaching them the skills they need, the minimum skills they need to have a chance of surviving this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what when I went through the Coast Guard's boot camp, it was said to be the second most difficult after the Marine Corps. Uh, to give you an example, I watched Full Metal Jacket with my father,
Good
who
movie.
was yes, oh yeah, great movie. My father was a cannon cocker in the army back during Korea.
So, like the guy that grabbed the thing,
Well, no, he
fucking
was yeah, he was artillery. He was artillery in
okay.
the army as part of a mechanized unit. of heavy weapons unit in during the Korean War. And luckily, he was really good at it for some reason. So when time came to ship his unit overseas, the people at Fort Bliss, Texas, which where he went through his training at, um, said, "We want you to stick around and help train the next batch." So he did, and shortly thereafter, he heard that his entire unit that he went through training with, boot camp and everything that came after it, was killed
Oh
in,
shit.
in one of the human waves. The Chinese just, 25,000 people running into position all at once. Um, but
Damn.
anyway, he and I watched Full Metal Jacket together, and the first half of that movie is all about boot camp,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Oh, my boot camp wasn't that bad." I'm like, "Dad, that was my boot camp." The only difference between what's in that movie and what I went through is that they couldn't hit us in the face. That was it. They spent 9 weeks literally trying to make us crack. The idea being that the units in the Coast Guard are so small and operate independently in the middle of nowhere. So you have no choice but to trust every person in your crew. You got to know that they're not going to break and just, yeah, fall into a quivering bottle, a pile of
Just a
goo.
pile of jello laying there.
Yeah, and
Look, look.
I saw some, you know, big macho, big man on campus, high school star, you know, bully boys that broke down in tears because they couldn't take it. And some
the,
people can, some people can't. It's always been that way.
hey, on the civilian terms, the closest thing I could come to what you just described would be Bear Bryant when he took his
Yeah.
Texas A&M kids out in that field and had them training, and every time they would stick their knuckles in the ground, they were coming up with them goat head freaking burrs stuck in their knuckles,
Yeah.
and they would watch guys run away during the night, and they would sit there smoking cigars, just watching, like, yep, no
Mm-hmm.
good, nope, no good.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they wound up with their final team, and they went with it. And even though they didn't win, but like one game that year, they beat Texas, and that was like the big thing. They
Mm-hmm.
won the war essentially. But
Yep.
that's what it comes down to: is who is going to stand by me?
Who's
Who
going
can
to
I
stand?
count on? Who
Yep.
can I believe in is going to give everything they got to the very bitter
Yep.
end? And that's what I love finding in stories like you've written, like all these other authors have written that I follow so much, is giving me these characters that just freaking care about each other to where they're willing to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of everybody else. Because that's got to be the hardest thing in the world, is to make that decision to know, hey, look, I'm done
Oh,
here.
hell yeah.
I'm out.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
leaving.
And honestly, I don't know if I could make that decision.
I
Nobody
don't either.
knows.
I
Nobody knows if they can make that decision until
haven't
time
faced it.
comes to make it. It's, I'm sure, uh, battle is the same way. It's you never know how you're going to react to it until you're there.
Yeah. When you're in the moment, when it's happening, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden it's fight or flight.
yeah. When all hell is breaking loose around you, people are dying, people are screaming. There's explosions, there's smoke everywhere. People are just getting blown to pieces. That's not normal.
No.
That ain't normal life. That's a horror show.
Mm-hmm.
So some people can deal with it, some people can't. It doesn't make the people who can't bad
Nothing
people.
wrong. No, there's nothing wrong with. I mean, we're all individual, and
Mm,
those people that can't, they need our love. They need
yeah.
support. They said, like the veterans groups that are dealing with the people that have the PTSD so bad, which I
Mm-hmm.
suffer from too for a different reason. I get why we need to support them because it's like, look, they were there, they went. They did it,
Yeah,
but then shit went freaking sideways, and
as it
here we
does.
are.
Yeah,
We're
as it does.
like they said, war is hell.
Where's
It,
hell?
it is what it is, and nobody's going to come out of that thing feeling
No.
better about themselves. I mean, you might feel a little more pride because I succeeded in something or I did something I'd never done before, but nobody's coming out of a war feeling like, yeah, man, I'm fucking life is great. Look at me. Ain't
Well,
nobody doing that. Nobody's doing that.
there are those who do. I mean, they're assholes in every bunch, but
Yeah, but they were already messed up before they ever went
they're
in there in
already
the
messed
first
up.
place.
Yes,
Which is why I
exactly.
kind of look back on the old military back in the day, like my dad's day, because he was a Vietnam vet. My uncle, Vietnam vet. A lot of Vietnam vets. Where you got in trouble with the police, you had two choices: go to jail, do your time, or go
Between the
join the
Marines.
military.
Yeah.
So it's not like you chose to go join the military. You just got stuck in there, and you're already a freaking nut job to begin with.
Yeah.
So we stick you out there, put a rifle in your hand, and hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, I mean, consider what the men and women in the Army and the Marine Corps, particularly those. The others to a lesser extent, but particularly those because they're the Army and the Marine Corps are on the ground. They're there in the shit.
That's why I've always had a soft spot for the Marines. First in fight.
That's it. That's it. Um, but just look at their history. Read any of the accounts of the battles during the Second World War. Um, and those accounts are censored somewhat.
Somewhat. Yeah, there's some
It says,
redaction going on.
well, it's not even redaction. It's some of it is so horrible that they can't wrap their heads around it. So they kind of bounce
They,
off the idea.
yeah, kind of gloss over it a little bit.
The 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 biggest example of that would probably be Kurt Vonnegut. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, I am.
Okay, he wrote a book called Slaughterhouse Five, which is his attempt to deal with the fact that in the Battle of the Bulge, he was taken prisoner, sent to Dresden, to a prisoner of war camp in Dresden, and was in Dresden when the Allies firebombed it.
Oh, shit.
We're talking 100 plus thousand people died. And in the aftermath, the POWs had to clean it up.
Wow.
And Kurt Vonnegut,
I've got to check that one out. I've got to check that
well,
one out.
Kurt Vonnegut lived through it. And Slaughterhouse Five is a very strange book. They tried turning it into a movie and it didn't work because it's Vonnegut.
Graphic?
No, it's Vonnegut. The way he tells it, it kind of slips back and forth in time from the present, where the main character is like a insurance salesman or something. It's a
Mm-hmm.
salesman of some kind. To the past, when he was a soldier and was taken prisoner and went to Dresden. To the future, when he finds himself in a zoo on the planet Tralfamador being looked at by aliens.
Okay.
That's Kurt Vonnegut. That's his. Vonnegut is one of my favorite authors because he he made it easy to laugh at ourselves. He has a dark, dark sense of humor.
So, what are
And
your feelings on, like, say, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I love it. Oh my god, I love that. The trilogy that ended up being what, 5 books?
Hmm. Exactly. So now, what are some other authors that just absolutely tantalize you?
Well, my biggest influence as far as my own writing goes, or Kurt Vonnegut,
Mhm.
because of his ability to make us laugh at each other, at
Yeah,
ourselves.
and love a good laugh.
Love a good laugh. Um, Stephen King, because of his masterful skill at creating characters that you care about.
Yeah, but he's so wordy.
Yeah, he is so wordy, but take The Stand, for example,
Hmm.
which is my favorite book of his, one of my favorite books of all time, and certainly my most favorite post-apocalyptic book of all time.
The guy riding the freaking nuclear bomb, man, you can't go
Yeah,
wrong with that.
yeah. The book, the unabridged book, is 1,100 some odd pages long, and the first 100 pages or so, it takes a while to go through them because he's setting up all the characters.
Hmm.
But once he's got them all set up, the next 1,000 pages just rock. It's like nonstop. Yeah, just
Just
bam, bam, bam.
let's just go.
Yeah, and it's that's what he is best at. Has always been best at. Is creating these characters that you get to know and you get to care about right before he completely fucks up their world. That's what he's so good at. So it's Kurt Vonnegut, Stephen King, and the third one is Raymond Chandler, who used to write. Have you seen the movie The Big Sleep?
Yes.
That's Raymond Chandler.
Okay.
That's Raymond
Okay.
Chandler.
I may have to go check out some Raymond Chandler along the way.
Well, his what I like best about him is the way he uses words is like rapid fire. It's a bam, 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 bam,
See, and
bam.
that's my style of writing is bam, bam, bam. Keep it
Yeah,
going, keep
he's
it
just
going, keep it. So I
it,
like a good little
it,
premise here and there, but keep it going.
keep it going, and it's just he doesn't screw around with a bunch of flowery language. He just goes for it.
I like it.
And this is writing in the 30s and 40s when he first started out.
No shit.
Yeah.
Because
So
he's new to me. I mean, well, obviously 30s and
no,
40s.
he's
Go
been around
figure.
for a long time.
Holy shit.
He was a contemporary of Dashiell Hammett, who wrote The Maltese Falcon.
Well, well, hell, is he still with us?
No, they're both dead.
I
They're both
wouldn't
long
think so.
since.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they're
yeah,
both long since dead. But
damn
you
it.
can still get their books, and they're awesome.
So we'll put that out there, everybody. Don't just
Yeah,
stick to your traditional. Let's go old school every now and then. For me, it's
yeah,
Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
yeah. Wow, that's
Fantastic
deep.
read.
That's deep.
Yeah,
Although
I go that far back.
my favorite book of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird.
That one's dark.
It's dark, but it's
Hell,
I don't.
Death of a Salesman.
Well, To Kill a Mockingbird to me is perfect. I'm so glad that that Harper Lee, the lady who wrote it,
Hmm.
never really wrote a second one. That was her first book. She won the Pulitzer Prize for it, and it was like, yeah, no, I'm done.
Well, I mean, sometimes I guess it's like if you write that one thing that's that damn good, it's a mic drop. Like
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
how do you repeat it? You
yeah,
can't.
because anything you do after that, people are going to critique it and compare it to the original, and they're going
Yeah.
to compare it to this, and you're never going to be able to top it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it doesn't matter what you do,
Yep.
but if you did top it, holy shit! I mean, that'd be
It would be like Michelangelo painting or Da Vinci painting the Mona Lisa and then quitting.
right. And yet, sometimes, man, art is so funny. that way. It's like with you guys. I mean, dealing with the indie authors. I'm not dealing with someone who went to a college to learn to write something, to figure out how to do this, to get the prose right, the timing right, the pace right. It's all just people coming from their heart, coming from their head,
Mm-hmm.
putting it out there. And I've never wavered from this, and I won't waver from it today. I have found more enjoyment
Mm-hmm.
from the indie author than I have ever found from the traditional author, the published out in the big name
Mm-hmm.
groups and all that. It's not to say that they're not good writers. I mean, fuck Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Peter Benchley. It's not to say that.
Right.
It's to say quit ignoring these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Quit ignoring the Jeff Thompsons. Quit ignoring the J.S. Patricks, the Javin, the freaking
Yeah.
Riches. All quit ignoring all of them
Yeah.
because they write the same brilliant stuff, and yet everyone gets so freaking hooked in this little tiny little universe,
Yeah.
and they can't step outside of it because they think they're going to get some childish view of something. No, you're not. You're still going to get the
Yeah.
same beautiful quality.
It's changing, but the entire entertainment industry is like that. Take music, for example.
Yeah.
Um, the Grammy Awards. In order, this is my understanding of it. Obviously, I've never won a Grammy or anything, but um, my understanding is in order to get nominated, you have to campaign for the Grammy. You got to campaign for the selection committee.
See, and what's that about? If your
Well,
shit's good, it's good. You shouldn't have to campaign for it.
yeah, that's just it. Um, those campaigns cost money, and the indie labels, which release probably 75% of the music every year, can't afford to.
No.
Yeah, so they can't afford to campaign, so they're not even nominated for the Grammy. If
See, and
that's
that's
the case, if three-quarters of the books or of the music that are released every year can't even get nominated for the Grammy,
right.
how relevant are the Grammys?
Not.
They're
That's
not.
what I call. They're not relevant at all.
It's the same with indie. It's the same with indies. Um, indies. It used to be back in the day. Back in the days of Humphrey Bogart, and all of the even early Clint Eastwood, things like that. They were making movies based on books. Um, Nowadays, it's all superhero movies and reboots and yeah, and remakes, and it's garbage.
Well,
It's the
now
same shit.
now I'm glad to argue with you on that one. Now the reboots for Marvel have been amazing. They've been
Yeah.
amazing. It's like my childhood. I had the Hulk with Bill Bixby and
Mm-hmm. Lou Ferrigno. Lou
thank you,
Ferrigno.
brain
Lou,
freeze on me there.
Lou Ferrigno.
Ripping out
Yeah.
of his pants, running around. Even though I knew from the comic books that he was way more than that.
Oh
He
yeah.
wasn't just flipping a car over and beating up a bad guy. This dude was fighting celestials and stuff. He was like
Mm-hmm.
really that badass. So I'm cool with those reboots, but at the same time,
Yeah. There's more to life than superhero movies.
hmm yes,
Um,
there are.
and there's you look at indie cinema. Take a look at horror, for example. Vast majority of horror movies come out of indie cinema.
I mean, hell, when I saw the remake of Dawn of the Dead, I felt like we had something going right there. We're not Dawn, yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Not of that. Yeah.
The Snyder
Yeah.
cut. When they put
Hmm.
that thing out, it was like, holy shit, that's what zombies are supposed to be like. Well, as far as the runners go.
Yeah.
And so I've been waiting for the Walker one, and then when we get The Walking Dead around the same time frame, we get that, and it's like, yes, see, we can do this. This is a thing we can do and make it mainstream and still give people what they expect to see versus, cartoony, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, not so much. Like Batman. I know everybody loves Batman with Adam West. I
Right.
grew up in that era. I hated that show. I just said it. I put it out there for everybody to see. I hated that show. It drove me freaking nuts. I couldn't stand it.
I liked
Done.
it because it was so over the top.
It was definitely that.
But
Bam and
but
boof and
but
biff
it
and
wasn't the comic book Batman.
no.
It was something else entirely different, and that's fine. For what it was, the old Batman TV show was pretty cool. For what it was
For at the time.
at the time, yeah. But um, I mean, just take movies again. Look at how many books you've got on your wall.
Yeah.
How
Ton.
many of those would make good movies?
Honestly, don't make me answer that question because I can honestly start pointing fingers real damn quick and going, um, yes, 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 which I just pointed at you.
Yes.
Yes, at Alan. Yes, at Ben Black. Okay, that's an anthology. Yes, at Courtney Constantine. Zombie Girl is part of Javin series, so they
Mm.
kind of tie together. Mark Tufo, are you freaking kidding me? He's
Oh yeah.
over here. The
Mm-hmm.
camera's different than Zoom, so I'm pointing one way and I really need to be pointing another, but he's over there.
Yeah.
So after Z by freaking J.S. Patrick, are you freaking kidding me? Guy wins the lottery, the biggest lottery in the history of lotteries, and decides to start building a fucking fort before the shit really starts. Because they've already got zombies. They're already there. We've been dealing with them. It's fine. We're good. And then the shit hits the fan, and now he's got a bunker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would love to see that as a movie. Richard Ryan Rose, Wild Eyed Southern Boys. I'll get my finger right in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
We got Sasquatches. We got zombies. We got zombies that become freaking Wendigos. Hell yeah, I'd like to see that, on the
Yeah.
screen. Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I am covered in a wall of things I would like to
Mm-hmm.
see with live action. And
And, well, yeah. I mean, look at all the possible material for Hollywood to make movies, and that's just on your wall.
that's
That's
just
not
there.
even. That's like 1% of the books that are out there.
That's it.
And of this batch, David Simpson is not the
Zombie
only,
Road.
and he's finally got Hollywood. Hollywood finally came calling him. Thank God. He
For
earned it.
real.
He
With the
earned it.
cool cars, the badass trucks, the blade on the front of the truck
Oh yeah,
tearing through
hell
a
yeah,
horde. Are you
hell yeah.
kidding me?
It's a no-brainer. Hopefully, um, if that is a success, they'll start dipping into this independent well more often.
And that's what my goal is. That's the only
Yeah.
reason I do this shit right here. I ain't doing this shit for me. What the hell am I gonna get out of this? A couple audiobook codes, a book here and there. I'm not doing this for me. I do this shit for you guys because I want you guys to
We
rock.
we love you for it. And that brings us pretty much to the end of my takeover.
Holy shit.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So you and I are going to be doing something next Saturday
Yes, we are.
with D. Cooper and a couple of fans, and we now have three writers, three readers.
And we
So
have a
that's the
special
next.
surprise.
We have a special surprise. That is true. So that's coming up. Um, and again, yeah, you can find me on Amazon and find me all over Facebook.
Hey,
And
wait a damn minute. I was supposed to introduce you to that. Slow down. Stop.
okay,
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the way we like to end shows around here is I'll start off talking a little bit about me because I am pretty and I'm rocking my damn Bear Baron ring. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the one and only Jeff Thomson, for me, Jack Childress. Mr. Jeff, where can we find you, my brother?
Amazon. I'm on Twitter. I'm in Facebook. Look around, you'll find it. There are on the Reanimated Writers group.
Thank you guys for
There
letting us
is,
be on here today, by the way.
thank you very much for letting us be on it. There is a link to Jeff Thompson's Twisted Tales. In that, there are excerpts from the first four books, so feel free to read them. Give us your comments, give us your memes, and win some swag.
And have some damn fun. That's what
Have
this is
some
all
damn
about.
fun.
That's why we did this here today. Well, for Jeff Thompson, I'm Jack Childress. We've had a great time here today. I'll see you again soon, Jeffy. You know I loves you,
Mm-hmm.
brother. And
Peace out.
Sasquatches beware. We're
Take
out of here.
it easy, folks. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Peace.